This webinar is done on the latest version of Docman, so the screens may look different. This version of Docman you will see is freely available to all sites, but at the moment is on a phased rollout plan, so keep an eye out for Docman updates at your surgery. The webinar we are doing is not version specific. What you will all see is available to both new and old versions of Docman. As with most systems, Intellisense requires a little bit of setting up to get going. Once this is done, Intellisense will be adapted to your local organisations and departments, meaning the setup stage will lessen with time. It will also automatically read your patients based on NHS number, along with many other identifiers such as date of birth and parts of names. Intellisense does this by taking the images you put through the scanner and converting them to a text-based file. This process is known as OCR, Optical Character Recognition. Templates you have are then created and cross-checked to give you an Intellisense filing match. This is the stage you'll be actively involved in setting up and maintaining. Okay, let's start by logging into our Docman system. I'm going to log into the system as a scanning and filing user called Daniel. I'm now going to enter into the File Documents area where normal scanning and filing takes place. At this stage, you would press the Scan button and acquire your images in the same way that you do at the moment, changing the necessary fields of your choice. You would then press the Scan button. I've already got mine attached, as you can see on the left hand side. In order for letters to be processed with Intellisense, you need to click the Use Intellisense button. When unticked, Docman will treat the letter as a normal scanned image and will require you to process it in the normal way. Basically, it will ask you for all the information as required. Patient name, the type of letter, so it could be clinical, the date of the letter, the hospital, and the department, whatever that might be. And then this should be a familiar screen for most of you, where you would finally enter that information into workflow and also send it to your clinical system. I'll just cancel that off as we don't need to do that at this stage. So for this presentation, we do want Use Intellisense ticked. You can see it's just highlighted it in blue there. The next stage is to press File Documents, and you will see the Intellisense patient and filing match screen pop up. So this is about what this session, what this session is about. It's about interpreting this screen that you're seeing at the moment. So to give you a little bit of information about the layout, at the top we've got the patient match field, and it runs what I call a traffic light matching system. We've got a green number 1, which is a definite patient match. That would indicate that it's got the NHS number or the full name and date of birth, and in this instance it's got the full name and date of birth. Number 2 matches are less likely, and that's where it's maybe just matched on a first name and surname or the date of birth, and as you can see that's indicated in amber. And red matches are even less likely, and that's where it's maybe just matched up on part of a name. I want to fetch your attention to the box that's directly to the right of that. It's called the Patient Match Details section. Because I am clicked on the green number 1 at the moment, we've got number of matches 1. And if you see a green number 1 on your system, there should only be 1 match in there, meaning that this is the patient that we are going to use. Now, this isn't always the case. You sometimes only have number 2 matches or number 3 matches. In this instance, you might see the number of matches increases. So for instance, you might have more than 1 Daniel Harrison. You might have more than 1 person with that date of birth, the 27th of the 9th, 84. And certainly when you're getting into red 3s, when it's matching up on maybe surnames like Smith, Jones and so on, the number of matches will increase tenfold. In that instance, if you're not presented with a number 1 match, you can always click on Manual Patient Search at the top. In this instance, I don't need to, so I'm going to click on Daniel Harrison, which is the number 1 option there, and then we're going to move on to the filing match that you see underneath. Okay. So in the filing match section, what I'm looking for is 90% or more. So you can see there that we've got a 90% match on this letter. I'm looking for an event date, a description, an organisation, a department, sometimes a person. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail going forward. A clinical entry, and a folder. The reason it is not 100% is because we are missing the person field, which is the last 10%. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start at the top. It's found the date as the 25th. We've got 2 dates there. It's also found the date could be the 26th, and I'm actually going to go with the 26th. So to choose that, you just double click and it changes it over to the date that you want. Okay. Next one down, it's saying it's a clinical letter. I don't know if you've noticed, but actually on my text preview, it's highlighting in blue why it's saying it's a clinical letter. And in this instance, it's saying that because it's Leeds General Infirmary. Now you can have templates that can find things like discharge summaries, DNA letters, based on keywords that it finds in this letter. We'll talk about that in a bit more detail going forward. So in this assumption, I think that's perfect. I'm saying clinical letter because it's from Leeds General Infirmary. The organisation is going to be the same matching, Leeds General Infirmary, so it's ticked LGI there. The same with department. This time the blue highlight has changed and it's matching up on keywords that are to do with dermatology. And as you'll see on this instance, it's not only finding the word dermatology, but it's looking for other words like dermatologist. And this is the part that you will be actively involved in setting up. Clinical entry is going to be said to be seen in dermatology clinic. Again, that can be overridden at the end stage if needs be. Or it could be that you just supply a different type of read code that suits your organisation. The folder structure, it's going to put it in the dermatology folder, so that's fully searchable by the staff in the surgery. It could be the GPs, it could be the attached staff, admin staff and so on, so that they can actually look and search into that folder to find that. Okay, so what you would do now then is you would literally just press the continue button. And I know I've done a lot of explaining there, but you press the continue button and it would move you straight on to the next screen where you would file document. And this is telling me I've already filed them because it's a test system. So I'm just going to quickly say file anyway. And that would be it. That would have entered the information into your clinical system. It would have workflowed it if you'd have sent it to a GP. And then you straight on to the next letter. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Let's do this a bit more realistic now. So I'm going to click on File Documents. We've got the correct patient again. We've got a number 1 there. We've got the right date. This time it has got the clinic date first. The description is a clinical letter, this time because it reads Nottingham City Hospital. Same with the organisation. And the department is respiratory, again because it finds respiratory there and there. So it'll suggest the code seen by a respiratory physician and it'll pop it into the folder respiratory. So again, very easy. Continue. Change the settings if needs be on this screen, and then it's just file document and file anyway in my instance. Let's do one more. File document, correct patient. If that wasn't right, if you click on the manual patient search, just to show you that when I do press continue, it would literally just pop up with the patient search screen, so I could then enter which patient I wanted. I'll quickly cancel that. File document. Guys, I can see that some questions are coming through. Let me just have a quick look at those. They're going to be answered towards the end, but I just want to make sure that there isn't any problem with the recording or anything. Cool. Right. So, event date is correct. It's a clinical letter, Nottingham City Hospital, ENT, seen in ENT, ENT. Just going to press continue on that one. And file it in. File anyway. Okay, so that's how the system should work. Now, as I said at the beginning of this session, the system does need setting up. Okay, it won't take long. We say it takes a couple of days maybe to get the majority of letters into the system, the day in, day out stuff that you would generally scan. And once you've done that, once you've got great templates set up, then it becomes obviously a really useful tool in cutting through the amount of scanning and filing that you've got. I'm sure you've probably all seen the bowel cancer screening letters that come through in masses at certain times of year. I think they're a bit more regular now. But if you've got a script or a template that can deal with that, then they can go through in seconds. So it's really worth looking into. Right, let's look at the next three examples that I've got. Okay, so it's the same instance again. I'm going to press File Document. And that's going to pop up the Intellisense patient and filing match again. Again, we've got the right patient. That's going to be the same throughout this webinar, I'm afraid. But what we can see here is the filing match is reduced to 45%. So we're missing the department, the person, the clinical entry, and the folder. So if I look to the right and actually look at the text representation of that document, I'm not stuck. I don't just click continue. That's the wrong thing to do in this instance, where the system tries to help out. It will give you the information so you're filling it out anyway, but what you want to be doing is when you get screen up, we want to be saying, right, well, when you read the word oncology, well, that's spelt wrong, that's my bad, sorry, I'll use this one down at the bottom. Oncologist, when you read that oncology or oncologist in the future, I want you to say that it is an oncology letter. So what do you do at this stage? You right click and you choose one of two options. Add to a template keyword list, or add and create a new template. So I'll use the top one first. The reason I do that, I'm going to look for Department Oncology in this list, which is not there. The reason I do that is it might have been looking for the word oncology, and obviously it's spelled incorrectly on there. So it's worth checking, and that would have saved us having to add and create a new one if it was in the list. But in this instance, it is a new department, so I'm going to right click again, and I'm going to say add and create new template. You fill in key specific areas. So what you do at this part is you would do Department Oncology. So you fill out the department field by pressing the pick button, clicking departments again, and this looks to the list that you've been building up from a manual point of view. And if I just type ONC on my keyboard, it will quickly move me down. So I can click oncology there. So I repeat that process for the folder because that's where the image will be viewable by the staff at the surgery. ONC on the keyboard, click select, and that's done. And last but not least, we're going to do the clinical entry as well. So I'm going to press select. I'll just do that again because I don't think the screen recording caught up. I'm going to press the select button just at the bottom, and I'm going to type in seen in ONC. I'm going to press the search button, and I'm going to choose this top one. I know there's two in there, but that's the bottom level code, so I'll just have the top one where it says select. Hit the save button, cancel, and then if you file it again, and this would represent doing in the future now that have got oncology on there, we can see his filing match is now up to 90% and it's filled out the relevant fields. So what I would do now is just continue with that and file it into the clinical system and send it through to the workflow, of course. Sorry. Right, next one. Let's do that again. File document. Okay, so this one's a physiotherapy letter. We can see it's found the hospital, which is great. But what we can see is, again, the department's missing. So same thing. Highlight the keyword. Right click. First choose add to a template keyword list. Have a look if it's there. So I'm looking for department physiotherapy. And I can't see it. So I'm just going to cancel that off. I'm going to right click again and add and create new template. Okay, template name, department, physio. Fill out the department field, pick, departments, physiotherapy. Either click on it or select, folder, physio. And then the clinical entry, again, the last one, I'm going to say seen, not in, but maybe by physiotherapist. Press the select option and then press save. Cancel this off. I'm only doing that so that we can see that the changed image. And there we go. We've got it filling out the department, the clinical entry, and the physiotherapy folder for that department. So the real benefit there is any letter that's got that word physiotherapist on there or physiotherapy, you will be able to obviously get it to understand that and read that for any future letters that you put through. Okay, I'm going to cancel that off again. Right, we're going to come to the next one where I'm just going to fill out, I'm going to make it 100% so that you can see how you add a person field in there as well. But this might represent some of the letters that you'll get to start with. So if we file document, in the fact that there was one thing that needed to be added. In this instance, we've got a few things. So let's start with the hospital, the description and organisation. Well, I can't see on there, I can't see Leeds General Infirmary. I can't really see, because, well, infirmary is not spelt very good there. I can't see LGI, but what I do know, and I know it only happens on LGI letters, that they say part of the West Yorkshire NHS teaching hospitals. Again, some of it's spelt wrong, so I'll just go up to the NHS. But this is what I'm trying to get at. You can choose keywords that are relevant for your area, and you can build up templates that'll work. So I'm going to right click on that. I'm going to use the top one, add to a template keyword list. And I know I've got it. So what I'll do there is I'll go down and I'll pick Leeds General Infirmary. Right, so nothing's changed at this stage, but what has happened is under IS keywords, Intellisense keywords, it's added an extra field, a keyword or phrase that it's looking out for. So when it reads that, it will say it's LGI. So I'll save that. I'm not going to cancel and reread yet. I know that I've got orthopedics to do, so I'm going to highlight that as well. I'm going to right click, see if it's there. No, so I'll cancel, add and create new template on the right click again. So department, orthopedics, choose the department line again, I press pick, departments, orthopedics again, repeat that for the folder, ortho, and the clinical entry I'm going to say seen in orthopedics, seen in ortho. Sorry, can't spell today. Orthopedic clinic. Save at the bottom. Okay, and I'm just going to quickly show you the add person field as well. Dr. Jeremy Watts. I wouldn't, this is one area, I would be saying look for 90% matches. But if there is a consultant that you think, you know, we do get a lot from and it'd be beneficial if we added that on there, then fair enough. But this is a decision that is up to you. You don't have to do this. In fact, maintaining it could be quite difficult if you was going to put everyone on there. So just to quickly show you that one. I'm not going to go to the top one because I haven't added any more, but you would generally if you was, you know, adding these. I'm going to call it person, Jeremy Watts, and then I just fill the person field out in free text, press save, and then what we're up to now is, you know, the cancel option and the reveal that when we do file document, we've got the filing match 200%. Let's fill the date out, the clinical letter, LGI, orthopedics, Jeremy Watts, seen in orthopedic clinic, and the folder orthopedics. So I'll cancel that off. Okay guys, what I want you to be aware of is 3 types of documents which should not really be Intellisensed. These are documents which are entirely handwritten. The OCR technology can't really read these very well, and you'll pretty much get a screen full of, you know, nonsense gibberish if you like. In this situation I would be unticking the use Intellisense option. You do need to look for kind of a happy medium, so to speak, in terms of there might be some letters that have got handwriting on and bits of it's typed up. So, you know, if you've got that situation, then test it out with Intellisense. Another type of document would be an image. You know, think along the lines of ECG documents. If it does not have any text on there saying it's an ECG, then the software, again, it's not going to be able to find that. So just bear that in mind. And lastly, there is one other thing, and if the document is over, say, 10 pages long, you might find you would have been a little bit faster in the long run doing it manually, but that to some extent does depend on the speed of the PC that you're on, so again, you're free to test that on your own setups. Okay, I'm going to now explain another way to add to templates. And this is done through maintain list. So I'm just going to close this section off. I'm going to go into, this is the new version of Document, so I'm going to go into settings and I'm going to click maintain lists and click on the Intellisense template section there. The reason I've done this is as long as you can think about the types of letters that you're going to get through, then you don't actually need to do all the maintenance from the scanning terminal, and this can be done from any PC. As long as you can kind of guess what kind of keywords will be on there, then you could create a template. So let's just click the add button. You know, I could type on there department, maxillofacial. Still go through the same lines that I did when we was, adding it. So I would do pick on department, I would do departments, type maxillofacial in there. I would do the folder, maxillofacial, and I would do the clinical entry, seen in maxillofacial as well. Now if I try and save it, it will tell me, because I've done it this way, that I need to add at least one keyword. Right, okay, I've already got it in the system as it happens. Bear with me a sec. So let me just go into the maxillofacial one that I've got there. What it would do is it would move me over to the IS keyword section, where I would literally add keyword and I would fill in maxillofacial. And then, obviously saving it, it would be available for the people that do the scanning and filing to process that. Let's do another one. Let's do a hospital. So add hospital Royal 3. So this one, in this instance, I would do pick. I would say letter types first, and then I would do clinical letter. The organisation, I would do pick hospitals / clinics, and if it's not there, I would just quickly add it to my list. So I'm just going to do hospital / clinics Royal 3 and select it. Again, if I try and save it, you're going to get that prompt. Please add at least one keyword and press OK. It moves you over to that section where you can quickly click add keyword, and I know, for instance, that on Royal 3 letters they do say Royal 3 hospital on them. Other keywords would be things like postcodes and so on and so forth. I won't save that. Okay, let me move into our Leeds General Infirmary one and fetch it back to IS keywords. The reason for this is I want to explain to detect a match. Currently it's on any of the words can be detected. So it's literally looking for Leeds General Infirmary, it's looking for the LS1 postcode, and it's now looking for, which we did add during this webinar, part of the West Yorkshire NHS. If we swap it to all words must be detected, it would literally need to read all three of those statements on the same letter before it made, before it, well, not made, but applied that configuration. Okay. Now it does have its uses. Its uses are for letters that are kind of templated that you might get from certain organisations, like out of hours, where they might not have something like out of hours clearly put on there. They might have put something like summary ID, call ID, patient ID, and so on. What you could do is you could put all those three in there, and then you could say all words must be detected. And then when it sees them, the template is, you've kind of made it quite clever in the sense that when it sees all those three options, it knows that it's an out of hours letter. So, many thanks for joining this webinar. We've now come to an end of this section. If you're waiting for the read coding part, then please stay connected. Otherwise, you're free to leave. Again, many thanks for joining. The next session is going to start in about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm just going to quickly have a look at the chat box and see if there's anything that I can quickly answer. I will be giving proper details towards the end of the webinar on the next section, how you can get in contact with us going forward. So just bear with me a second. Right, okay, we have only had one question. Is there a way of stopping it finding doctors when searching for a patient in Intellisense? I think what you're relating to there is the fact that on the patient matching section, it's coming up with the doctor's name in there. That would possibly mean that you will have the doctor registered as a patient on your clinical system. If that's the case, then I'm afraid not. I mean, it's going to come up because his name's always going to appear on the letter, and because he is registered as a patient at your surgery or registered within your clinical system, it would pop up time and time again. One of the tricks that I have seen employed in that situation is changing of the doctor's name slightly. And obviously, if the doctor is not a real patient and it doesn't need to be on there, there is a possibility of removing them. And then obviously doing a patient synchronized within Docman, that would kind of fix up any issues with the doctor always showing up, or just renaming them slightly. That's another good tactic. Okay, guys, we're going to start back up in at 25.2. So again, stay connected, and we'll move on to the next session shortly. Okay, webinar starting in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the second part of the webinar. This session will focus on Intellisense filing using the Docman 7 system. For any new members of staff which might have joined us, the Docman system will be viewed in the latest version. The majority of the training will not be version specific, but towards the end of the session I will explain the new additions which have been introduced. The new version is a free upgrade to all sites and is currently on a phased rollout release cycle. So again, check for updates within your Docman system. Okay, so we're doing coding, so I'm going to explain a very popular way into the summarizer so that you can actually get access to the letters that need coding. And that would be done through the workflow system, which we see in green on the new version. I'm going to pick a letter from the list that I want to start with. I'm going to start with the bottom one. And then what you will see at the top of the screen is a summarize button. So we click that. It's going to tell me it's already been done. We've done another webinar this morning, so I'll just click yes. And that will take me into the Intellisense Summarizer screen. So just to give you a little bit of a basic understanding about the layout that you've got at the moment, we've got the Intellisense items box. So what that will do is when we click on the options to find read codes that are part of this letter, it's going to present them in that box. To the right of that, we've got the terms details box, which allows us to change the event date. The read code that you might want to add might need to be slightly different to the clinic date that it's automatically suggesting. You might want to add free text. So with a fracture, you might want to say it's either left or right, and so on. And if it's a value, let's say a blood pressure or a blood gas, or something along those lines, we can change the value if needs be, and we can change the unit. Underneath that is the OCR text preview, and it's giving us the document that was converted at the scanning and filing stage, which we've just covered. And last but not least, to the right of the screen, we're seeing the activity panel, which gives us our first three options, which we're going to talk about now. So let's first talk about Detect Diagnostic. Detect Diagnostic would be ideal for finding codes like diabetes or asthma, basically codes where people have actually been, diagnosed with an illness. I probably don't need to tell you guys what a diagnosis are. You're much better at coding than I am. So anything that is a diagnosis, we can click the Detect Diagnostic button. And if you click that, what you'll see is the Intellisense terms box, items box, has changed, and it's given us options that are relevant to what it's found in the letter. So you can see that in there. There is a few changes on here which people might be noticing. Some of them are to do with the new versions. At the very end of the session, we will talk about the differences that are in here that will help you out. Okay, let's now talk about the Detect Procedure option. So this would be used when you're actually looking for procedures that have been carried out. So on a dermatology letter, kind of making this up, but you might be looking for something along the lines of this person had a skin graft. If it was an ophthalmology letter, it might be cataract removal, something along those lines. So these are procedures that have happened, tests that have been done, bloods taken, and as you can see, I don't know if you noticed that, but my Intellisense terms box has changed from what it previously was. Let me just go back to Detect Diagnostic. So Detect Diagnostic was clear dermatitis because it does say it on the letter. As soon as I clicked on Detect Procedures, it's given me a different list, so we're getting things that have kind of happened to the patient. And the last one that I want to talk about is Detect All Read Codes on the automatic actions, that is. So Detect All Read Codes, you are right in thinking it will be a combination of Detect Diagnostic and Detect Procedures, but what it also is things like appliance codes, admin codes, and everything else. So what you can see there, look, is you're getting things like dermatology, because it's reading the word dermatology. Now I wouldn't have that, probably wouldn't even have history, but it is a read code. So what I'm trying to say, and this is something that kind of trying to relay to most practices now in the way that they try and use that, is don't go for it as a first option, because it's not necessarily going to be what you're after. Try the Detect Diagnostic, try the Detect Procedures first, And if you're looking for something very general to do with maybe a keyword, because you can highlight a section of the text as well, then use detect all read codes, which will probably give you a little bit better, of a read code if you're looking for something quite general. But certainly don't use it as the main function of the system. Because, if I was trying to train this system and I clicked on detect all read codes first on this letter, where it clearly says dermatitis, and it come up with history, then it's wrong. It's not right. But that's because I'm using the detect all read codes option. Okay, let me go back to detect diagnostic. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to double click on the dermatitis code that I want there. I don't know if you saw that, but this summarize option just at the top has gone to 1. If I click on another one, 2, and that'll just keep incrementing the amount of read codes that you want to select and pop into the system. If I want to take them off, then I just do that again. I double click, and that takes them off there. So we'll have that one back. And I want to show you facility down here. So, I might not always think that that's very readable. It might be a long letter. I know this isn't, and it is quite readable. But let's say it's quite a long letter. You have got the facility, because we're on OCR text preview at the moment, to change it to show document. And if you do that, you'll be presented with the physical letter so that you can read it in an easier format. And when you move to the area that you want, you can show text, and you say, well, actually, I want this little line of information. If you highlight it, under select mode, you've got add and then the statement to free text. So you would click that, and that's filled out the free text in that information just at the top. So if I'm happy with that code, I would click next and then finish. And what that will do then is it will fire it into your clinical system, whatever that might be. Now the bit that I can't show you, which will pop up, it pops up on all clinical systems, is an extra box then which will ask you how you would like to link the read code into the system. So for instance, if you was doing something like a fracture, it would want to know if it was a first, a review, is it significant, minor, and so on and so forth, and then it would then enter it into the clinical system that you have. I can't show you that screen because I'm not linked up to any real clinical system. I'm just showing you the DocMan screens. Okay, let's pick another letter. Let's do this one. Summarize. Let's cycle through the 3 actions that you've got again. Detect diagnostic. Clearly popping up with asthma. We've got bronchial asthma there, asthma non otherwise specified, exercise induced. Now these are coming up because of the asthma status there, but we've done a lot of streamlining in this version in terms of being able to make the system find the codes that are going to be used the majority of the time. So if you want asthma, you double click on it, and again incremented by 1. If I do detect procedures, again, family planning is popping up. Stuff that I wouldn't look for because it just sees family planning. So this is what I'm trying to make you aware of. You need to be using all 3 to get a picture of the stuff that you want. So detect all read codes in this instance is coming up with diagnosis as the first one, when in fact it's asthma. Okay. You've also got now on actions a new button that says add read code from term browser. So if you click that, it will in this instance, it's come up with asthma because I was clicked on it in the background, but what I can do is I can just take that out and I could put anything I wanted in there. So I could type neoplasm, do a search, and that's going to find all the codes that are to do with neoplasms and things like that. And then if I wanted one, then I would just click on it, press the select button, and that's going to put it into the summarize window that you've got there. You can still add free text, so you can go back to Intellisense and you can highlight the bits that you want. add to free text, and that's going to pop that in with the ASMA code, because that was the one that I was clicked on. Right, okay. I'm going to close that. I want to show you another facility. And that is DocMan's ability to pick up on values. So I'm going to have to search for the letter. Just bear with me a second. Not that one. No. Found it. Okay, so this one. This has got a blood pressure on there. So I'm going to click the Summarize button again. And what you'll see is if I highlight the blood pressure, 180/75, the select mode has done something slightly different. It said, right, I think you want to add the on examination BP reading using the value 180/75. And if you do, perfect, you just click on that. And then the Summarize option is incremented by 3. I'll explain that. It's added the heading code, which is BP reading, and it's added the systolic and diastolic readings as well. I'm just going to remove those from the list. I don't want that. And it's likewise with, let's say for instance, can you see this number 1 here? Now I know that's not part of a real value, but if I highlight that, then the select mode feature has given me things like serum calcium, serum bilirubin, triglycerides, I'm not going to read all of them, weight, 1, probably not a realistic value, but you know, if you want any of those, you can click on them, and that will pop that in there for you. Again, remove from list, we'll just take that off. Now, DocMan's ability to add valued codes isn't just the ones that are built into the system. I know you saw the short list there when I highlighted the one, and you saw it find the on examination BP reading, but you actually are free to, you know, add values yourself. So that's not done from the summarizer screen. Forgive me, I'm going to take you back to the DocMan main menu. I'm going to go back into settings where we were previously, maintain lists. This time, instead of Intellisense templates, I'm going to click on the read code list section just there, and I'm going to click the add button. So this is the list that it can currently read. If I just click add, let's going to make this up. Let me just put in serum again, and maybe find one that's not on our serum folate down there. Look, if I press select, at the moment it's not a valued read code, so it would be on the non-valued read code picking list, which is also in the summarizer section, which we can have a look at. But what I want to do in this instance is I'm going to click edit. I'm going to click single valued read code. I'm just going to make this up, you know, I'm not sure what it is, but I'll just pretend that it's, for instance, millimoles per litre. The max value might be min value, sorry, might be 7,000, and the max value might be, you know, 8,000. And I could save that. So just to prove that that works, if I quickly go back into workflow, click the summarize button, say yes to that. If I just clear a little bit of space here, and this would just be the same as if it was on the letter, but if I put in 7,050 and highlight it, under the select mode feature, it's got add serum folate using value 7,050. Now what you'll also notice there is it's not giving you the others as well, because obviously that value doesn't fall into the range of the other ones that exist in the system. Now in saying that, you will also have to factor in abnormal ranges as well, just in case you just put the normal range in and then you get an abnormal one, it wouldn't show up. So just think about that when you're adding them as well. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly clear that off. I'm going to do a detect diagnostic again. Okay, can you see these stop symbols next to certain codes. Now these stop symbols are because we were collecting the medical history on startup. Okay, what that means is it pulls back from your clinical system the read codes that have been added for that patient. And what it'll do down here where it says similar terms, it'll give you the information. So on the 27th of the 8th this year, they've already had nasal polyp code. Now this could be a new instance, and I would double click on it again, but it's, you know, a great tool for saying, well, actually that's been done by somebody else. I don't need to do it because the dates are similar. So you would literally just, you know, ignore that and you could move on. Another thing to bear in mind is if you highlight anything, the actions become selected text, and that means it will concentrate its search. So if I do a detect all read code on nasal polyp, it will, you know, concentrate its search on nasal and polyp, and it'll give you codes that are probably more relevant in that instance. Right, okay. That brings us to a finish in terms of the stuff that is available for most of the read coding facilities in the Docman system that are out at the moment. I do want to fetch your attention to a few areas that you're seeing on here that are new. Namely this part at the top. Can you see where we've got the number 1s and number 2 matches? And in some instances you'll have, yeah, well, there we go, look, we've got number 3s as well. That is a system that's been fetched over from the Intellisense filing part that we did at the beginning. But what it means is the way that it's ordered, the number 1s are going to be more likely matches, and this is a system that learns with the amount of times that you use them. So at the moment, I don't know if you can see down here, but it says nasal polyp, match nasal polyp, times used. Now I'm hooked up to a test system, so it's not monitoring that information. But the more you use codes, the more ordering that goes on within the Intellisense terms selection. And what that does is it means that you're going to continually make the system learn about what code you use, and it will become better with time. It's something we call velocity coding. The next bit that you might have noticed is this section that says view in hierarchy. You know, if I see nasal polyp there and I think, no, I don't want that one, but I want something similar, I can click view in hierarchy, and I can use these up and down options just to kind of cycle through the entire read code tree. So we're up to nasal polyp there, you know, we can go out even higher, other upper respiratory tract diseases down if you want, and you can just pick the ones that you want and you press select, and that's going to pop the codes in there that you need. Okay, and last but not least, a really brilliant change that's been introduced is, let me give you an example. Let's say, for instance, that one of your consultants in the hospital, he always said something along the lines of, you know, carcinoma in situ. He abbreviated that with the wording CIS. So let's say on this letter, and I know it doesn't at the moment, but it said CIS. Okay, if I highlight that, I've got the ability, this is a new section, it says user added keywords. I've got the ability to click on add CIS to user keywords, search for a code. So obviously I said carcinoma in situ, so if I put carcinoma, then if I select it, I've already added this one, this was from the training early, so it would have said successfully added. Then what would happen then is if I just highlight CIS and then click on detect all read codes, it's going to come up with the code that I've associated it with. So in that you've got a very powerful, you know, tool that will allow you to use this system for your own needs, and you can adapt it so that it works with your own, you know, your own coding and stuff that you use at your surgery. Okay, I'm just going to take you into manage. We've took a little bit of feedback in terms of that this screen, in terms of the actual text that you're seeing, is not always very readable. So under manage, for some of you this might be, you know, a great tool. We've got the OCR text font. Okay, so you can choose whatever font you want. Some of them are a bit wacky. You probably wouldn't use all of them, but certainly you could look at the size. Probably put that to regular, just increase that. And what that will do is, you've probably guessed it, if I go to Intellisense, it's made the OCR text preview a lot more readable. But for some people, that will be important. Okay guys, thank you for joining this session on Intellisense coding. I hope you found the session informative and equally easy to follow. If you have any further questions, feel free to post them in the question section. You've got a little chat box towards the right hand side of your screen. I'm going to spend a little bit of time answering some questions. I'm possibly not going to be able to answer all of them. But what I will also say is, after this session, if there's any ongoing support that you do want, then what I suggest is just email support@docman.com with any immediate queries, and then we'll get back to you in good time. So I'm going to hang on a little bit. I'm just going to mute the microphone. If anyone's not got any questions, anything that they want to, that you're free to leave at the moment. If anyone's got any questions, just pop them into the text chat. I'm going to pause for a second, and then in a few minutes I'll come back and I'll try and answer as many as I can. Thank you.